Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday's edition of Shagalinku TV. It's good to have you here. And for those of us that will be joining us later on the show, knowing that we have various viewers from other continents and they'll be joining us later or even after the program, this is welcoming you to the Saturday's edition of Shagalinku TV. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Dabari, and it's good to be here with you all. And today, like for those of you who already like our pages and have seen our flyers, we'll be looking at the film industry. We're looking at Nollywood, how they use storytelling and the power behind storytelling when they make films. Okay, and a lot of people keep saying that Nollywood is growing, the films, the quality of the films, particularly, the cast, the storyline, and all that. So today we're beaming our searchlight on Nollywood and we're asking that what is the power, what is the strength of storytelling when it comes to filmmaking? I must give kudos to a lot of film directors, producers, scriptwriters, even the actors for really interpreting the roles and all that. Anyway, I have a veteran here who is our guest all the way from the UK who will be joining us to talk about these issues. And also, he'll be telling us about his new film that is coming up soon. I'm wondering why the name Badamasi, and he says the name is a portrait of a general. Anyway, welcome, Mr. Obi Emelonye. Take your trophy, take your trophy. Welcome, sir.
Ambassador.
Present, sir.
Very soon. My ambition in life is to be an ambassador like you one day. So
we too. We want to be directors like you one day. You think it's easy? Don't be my you.
Allah, it's not easy, but no one day easy. You have to. Every journey has its own obstacles, and you have to climb the hills and go down the slopes, cross the rivers, swim across the oceans. But every journeyman will get to their destination by God's grace.
Let's start with first. I know you're a trained lawyer and all that, and I know you get these questions a lot of time that while leaving the bar, where you'll be putting it to the judge and doing order my lord, why film? And then you got into film when it wasn't like now, where there are a lot of endorsements. I mean, you guys sold so tilt the floor, and a lot of people are enjoying a lot of hard work and sweat that you guys did previously. Because as at when you joined, it was crazy for someone who is educated, who is a lawyer, to say he's going into film industry. So how did it start for you?
No, when I think it's changed a little bit now, but when I was growing up as a young man in Nigeria, your parents told you had to be a lawyer, you had to be a doctor, you had to be an engineer, or if you don't do any of those professions, you can step down and then you're a failure. But what has happened, the world has suddenly woken up to the idea that those marquee professions don't really equate good life. It might be good money, but money doesn't make you happy. That there's a certain level of contentment that comes from doing what you love, from loving what you do. And for some people, they would probably not be able to take this leap and get into what they love because circumstances, they have to pay bills, they have to run their lives. But for some others, like people who are privileged, like myself, to be able to do what they love, it is something that cannot be described with words. To be able to enjoy the production process. I think it was one of the American presidents who said that success is not in the gathering of money. It is in the hustle, the pleasure that comes from the creative process That's what makes happiness, and it's not just money. So, in a way, I started from theater arts in University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and gradually, played football along the way for Rangers International of Enugu before I came to England. And, I discovered that I couldn't survive as a dramatist, doing stage plays and stuff. So I started focusing my attention on becoming a filmmaker, learning to write and direct for film. But at the same time, I also needed to live a decent life. And I knew that I needed a career that had transferable skills. And maybe because my twin brother is a lawyer, and maybe because I understand that law is a profession that you can take to whatever you want to do. Oops, we have a malfunction. Sorry, I'm trying to set up my camera again. Oh, bloody hell. Bloody hell.
Okay, so just as we'll wait for Mr. Obi to set up again and join us, in case you just joined, this is the Saturday's edition of Shagalinku TV, and we're looking at filmmaking and the power of storytelling. Please drop a comment in this comment section if you have questions for Mr. Obi. If you are an upcoming actor and you want him to give you some advice, do drop your comments there. We'll read all of them here. Mr. B is in the building, and then he'll be talking to us more too about his new film that he'll be premiering next month, and it's titled BADAMASI, Portrait of a General. We'll be asking him a few more questions on that. So let me find out if Mr. B is back and has set up. Yes, he's set up again. So welcome back, sir.
I had a wardrobe malfunction, as they say.
No, this one is telephone malfunction. We did see brazier and wig falling off.
This is a family show. Don't corrupt people, please. Anyway, as I was saying before, I was reading my phone. So I discovered that I needed a transferable skills from law. So I went ahead and studied law, practiced law for a little while, and in 2006 decided, you know what? Okay, time to focus on what I consider to be my calling. And since then, it was difficult, just like everything. The start of crying is always difficult, and gradually we've come to the stage where we have a little bit of name recognition, we have a little bit of brand equity, we have a little bit of what you consider to be relative success. Not money, but being somebody in the industry. And we are grateful to God for coming this far. So I still remain a lawyer. I still have to interrogate my own contracts that I have with people. And when I do, they wonder, who's this guy? Why is he asking these questions? Normally, everybody will sign this contract and send it back. Why is he breaking it down? Unfortunately, I'm a retired lawyer, so I have time to do those things. And it comes in very handy. The astuteness as a lawyer also helps your discussions, it helps your conversation. And, I say everything we are goes into everything we do. And somehow that law, that worldview of somebody who's legally trained finds its way into the work that I do. That's why there's a certain roundedness about it. It's like, Last Flight Abuja and the Mirror Boy making the top 10 of most watched films on Netflix from Nigeria. And those films are 10 years old and 11 years old, respectively. And yet they made that. Why is that? It's because of that roundedness. It's because of that being a Nigerian and being a European at the same time. That, being British without losing my Nigerianness. I think that helps the worldview of the films and people can relate to it, whether they are green, white, or black.
Okay, thank God you mentioned those two films because they are actually very, very inspiring, I would say. A whole lot of narratives were on those films, particularly for the Mirror Boy or something, because it was shot outside Nigeria. A whole lot, having that child, particularly in that film, having to, so much was happening in that film. I'd still ask you to talk about the Mirror Boy or so, but let's even look at Last Flight to Abuja. What was the concept all about, and what were you trying to churn out to viewers when you did that film? Because there were so many emotions, rising and falling in that film, particularly.
Last Flight Abuja, I would say, was my coming of age as a filmmaker. I think with this relative success of the Mirror Boy, and the awards that he won, the success he had in the box office in Nigeria and in the UK cinemas, I felt my attempt to tell a different kind of story was vindicated, and it's kind of strengthened my resolve to pursue what I consider to be out of the box stories that Nollywood at the time were not telling enough. So I had this idea, been fascinated by planes since I was a young man, and I had this idea of telling the story, particularly when Sosoliso, the air crash, happened in Nigeria. I was close to the family because we used their aeroplane for one of the films that we shot in those days. So I knew the family well. So I just felt that there was a need to tell that kind of story, because unless we did tell that kind of stories ourselves, somebody from Hollywood will come and make us look like monkeys, make us look like we are stupid people, and tell that story from a point of view of an imperialist, of somebody who has an agenda. But if we tell it ourselves, we'll put the mirror in front of ourselves and we'll see the good, we'll see the bad, and we'll see the ugly. And that's what I did. But to make it such a technically challenging film, we needed to explore and research on how to achieve what I call visual realism, for making a plane stay in the air and making a plane crash. And to give you an indication of where we started from, when I made the announcement that I was making a film about a plane crash, the reaction online was, and I quote, somebody said, "You guys haven't crashed the car properly in a Nollywood film, and you now want to crash a plane." And that speaks to you about the level of cynicism, the level of suspicion and doubt that existed within the system. So instead of discouraging me, that really excited and catalyzed a lot of interest in my team to say, you know what, we know that technically we know how this works. We know that our budget is not great, but it would allow us to tell this story very well. We know that if we do the things that we want to do right, that this film will come out right, and we'll shut these people up, literally. So we set out to tell a story that was technically challenging, but one that every Nigerian will be proud of, because it doesn't make mockery of us. In fact, I was told that the response of NEMA in Last Flight to Abuja is by far better than the response of America when Katrina happened. So for a change, even though disasters can happen anywhere, it is your reaction to it that matters. And the reaction that I put in the film for Nigeria, to represent what the government did when something like that happens, people will think, oh, that's smart, that's really responsive, that the emergency operators arrived at the scene quickly and evacuated the plane as quickly as they did. So Last Flight Abuja became, like I said, the culmination of my boldness, my identity as an independent commercial filmmaker. It's not anywhere near perfect, but the strides that we made in the film the level of technical detail and quality that we achieved in both the storytelling and the visual effects still hold their own today. And that's why on Netflix is the top 5 of films watched on that platform made by Nigerians. So it is sincerely a blessed film.
Okay. So before I come to Mirror Boy, I'd like to ask you the latest, the Amaria, so to say, in your stable. is is your new Ugove, Ugowani, and all that. So much paparazzi has been going on about the Badamasi film that you'll be premiering next month. And for me, each time I go to social media and I see all the paparazzi, and I'm like, make this film just concept, make we rest. The paparazzi don't they lotto us too much, and then you you see 10 seconds of it, you see 5 seconds of it, and I'm like, why all this long truth? Just release it or premiere it, make we rest. We need to see. But then before I ask you more of that, I like to read a few messages here. This one here is from Abu Enejo Stephen. It says, "Hi, Ambassador Gabari and Barrister Obi. Nice joining you on this program."
That's Obi Emelonye is don't do. Abba, which kind of barrister?
You read the book for nothing. What do you mean? Once a barrister, always a barrister. Now school you go. He did your head. See for your 2 glasses now. We did see him. Barrister. Okay. So Abu says, nice joining you on this program. Steve watching from Kogi. Thank you very much. And we got this one here from United States of America. This is from Nina Ricci. She says, congratulations about your new film.
Nina is a very good friend.
Oh, yeah. She's a friend in the house as well. Okay, so let's talk about Badamasi. As usual, I know a whole lot of work has gone into this for you, because for every project you do, you're always detailed. You are, sometimes it's so flawless. People like us, we're always carrying biro and paper to write out all the flaws on your computer. That's what you call it. But you take your time.
Village people.
No, now we be the city own. The village people, they're different. Now we be city hunters. So Obi, let's talk about this. You are always a very detailed and particular person. You are deliberate in the projects you put out. So tell us more about Badamasi and what should we be expecting. Anyway, from what we've seen, we just know that wahala dey for Charlie Boy bus stop. Oh.
No. In 2016, after I made a film called Oxford Gardens, I took it to the cinemas in Nigeria, and it did well, but it didn't do as well as I wanted it to. You have success, but I think there's an Oliver Twist in all of us that says, "Please, sir, I want some more." And so after that, I told myself that maybe it was time to look at, because Nollywood was evolving. There was a lot of independent people coming in from outside the business world, who had contacts, who were bringing a certain level of muscle into the industry that didn't exist before. And unless the people who were in the industry before, unless they up their game somehow, these people would come and take over. So I said, okay, instead of telling all these normal stories, I've always wanted to tell, do a biopic. Who amongst everybody that I've read about in Nigeria, would make an interesting biography, a biopic? And I considered everybody, all the way from Ojukwu down to Obasanjo. And, for different reasons, I eliminated some other people. But when it came to Babangida, I just felt that the mystique around the man the controversy that he generates, his involvement in the history of Nigeria for good and for bad, his presence in every coup organized in Nigeria since 1966, for or against, he's always there. And those 8 years that he ruled Nigeria, the difference that he brought, calling himself president, the charm, the charisma, the Maradona, the evil genius, as they call him, the achievements he made, he arrived at in Nigeria, and June 12th. And the fact that since he left office 28 years ago, he has never given a full-blown, wholehearted, completely frank interview about all the things that happened. What if I can get this man to talk to me? A few books have been written about him, but our people don't read. Our people don't read, and some of the things contained in the books nobody knows about. But with Nollywood going global, with Nollywood being everywhere, we had an opportunity to squeeze those stories of his into 2 hours of filmmaking so that people can experience what happened in those periods, so that we can demystify history. That's how BADAMASI came about. So from 2016 March, when I went to Hilltop, Mina, to see him and talk to him about this, until December 2019, when I was given the express permission to go ahead and tell the story, and he gave me detailed 5-night interview that he's never given anybody before on everything, no holds barred. And it was the basis of those interviews that I now put together a story that I think shows the man, shows Nigeria, and probably would start the kind of conversation we need to have as a people about our history and where we're going as a country.
Thank you very much. It's so who are the people in the film, your cast and crew, and what should we be looking out for? I know it's premiering next month, and a whole lot has gone into it. So what should we be looking out for?
So casting a biopic, particularly the lead role in a biopic, there are lots of considerations. So you have to find an actor or an actress, as the case may be, who fits the role in terms of physical attributes. So you cannot, make a film about Ambassador like you and cast me, an ugly man, to play you. That wouldn't work. So you have to find somebody that matches the physical attributes. You also have to find somebody that can carry the film, because the film rests on their shoulders as the lead character. But you have to find that person who is able to do that without usurping the role that they're playing. So somebody who's not too popular, but popular enough. You have to find somebody who has become formed in their ways, who has become, works with conviction in terms of their craft. But they also have to be malleable. They also have to be flexible. So in a way, Enyinna Nwigwe fitted that role, was made for that role. As Babangida, he has the same kind of structure, study, powerful personality, about the same height, and Enyinna is at a good place in his career where he's doing great films, has visibility, but he's not everywhere. And that was the only casting role that Babangida had a say in, because this is an authorized biography. It is not, I'm not doing this from the outside. I'm basing it on him. So when I did the casting, I said, "This is the person that's playing you. How do you say it?" And he said, I think that would work. That would work. So you know, once you have that main character, there were considerations for who will play his wife. Some people suggested people like Genevieve, and I said, look, if Genevieve plays Babangida's wife, people will not see Mariam Babangida. They'll see Genevieve. And that's what I'm saying about being usurping the character that you're playing. So we need to find somebody unknown relatively who would play that role and become Mariam Babangida. And that's what we did. We found a lady called Amara Owakwe. For the rest of the roles, we have Ali Nuhu in the film, we have Sani Danja, we have Yakubu Mohammed, we have Oke Bakassi, we have Julius Agu, we have Charles Inojie, we have Carlo Ikago, and Anthony Monjaro, and a range of other actors who, who played principal roles. And those roles are not on the screen every hour of the film, every second of the film, but they played principal roles that drove the narrative of the film, because we're looking at the life of a man who achieved so much with a lot of drama, with a lot of things. A lot of people have come and gone in his life. So it is finding the people to reprise these roles of the personalities and the characters that Babangida during his lifetime interfaced with. So, as far as ensemble casts go, this is a strong ensemble cast. But as people have discovered on the poster, we only have one face, and that is the face of Enyinna, because we're trying to make a strong statement about the personality of and the focus, the central focus of the story. It is not about the rest of the actors. It's about one man and his perspective of his own life and his perspective on some of the historical things that happened under his watch, including June 12th. So for the film, you're expecting the very uplifting, inspirational story of a young boy who was orphaned at the age of 14 and went through life using his charm and his intelligence to rise to become the president of Nigeria, a military president. At the time, he was 44 years old. And how a mixture of bad advice, a mixture of, we are all flawed individuals. Nobody is perfect. And with the benefit of hindsight, he looks back and he says, I should have done this differently. But you only get one chance to life. You only get one chance at life. So he's played his card, and a lot of things happened in that time. Some good, some bad, some very, very, very bad. And this film exposes, in some kind of fly on the wall kind of documentary style, all the conversations that we had about Nigeria. How did this come about? How did June 12th happen? Who were the people in the discussion? Who were the puppeteers behind the scenes manipulating everything that was going on? Who shares responsibility for what happened? Because one man doesn't run a government. A government is a collective effort, even though one man takes the blame and takes the glory. But it is to see that, to see the thanklessness of public office, because no matter what you do in public office, if you do good things, they will criticize you. If you do bad things, they will castigate you. It is through the eyes of somebody like IBB that we experience all of this, and particularly as a point of interest to most Nigerians, we unravel some of the machinations and the schemings behind June 12th. But from a point of view of somebody who doesn't understand Nigerian history, this is a very tense, intense, dramatic film that has everything you need a film to have. Intrigue. It has a war. It has coups. It has shootouts. It has action. It has the kind of emotion that wells up in you when you get towards the end of the film. And it's I would say, for Nigerians, it kind of puts their history on the screen and asks them to partake in it in some kind of ritual. But for non-Nigerians and people that don't understand the significance of some of the things happening, they see pure drama, the journey of a man from being nothing to something, and then back again to nothing.
Wow. Okay. I know the world is waiting and patiently just waiting for your new dish. So tell us why you're doing the premiering in June, because I also learned, I saw some of the comments that people dropped when you first dropped the notification, and people were like, when is it coming to Nigeria? I mean, this is a film about us. We thought you could start the premiering in Nigeria. So why outside the country and all that? So what are the plans?
Unfortunately, I live in London, and the films that you've mentioned, Mirror Boy, Last Flight to Abuja, they all started their journeys in London. They say charity begins at home, you know, Ana Mama no loss, Poama, as the Igbos will say. So, because this is my home, and I have this very supportive audience that have grown with me in the last 15 years of my film life, and they support whatever I do. So I owe it to them that what I usually do with my films is to have a premiere in London, gather some momentum, and then come into Nigeria. And I'm just replicating that with BADAMASI. And also, we've had some challenges with BADAMASI, as you can imagine. When you're telling a story about such a seemingly divisive figure as Babangida, you are cutting with controversy. What I did not expect when I took on this job was the level and the volume and the intensity of the opposition that has followed the project. At first, it was like silent, it was like unseen, dark voices from dark corners writing me and telling me not to release the film in the cinema, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to ignore them. But then I said, okay, sometimes they will chase you into a place that is good for you. Maybe the cinema is not the best platform for people to experience this film. There is something private about a story like this that you have to sit in your house and watch it and rewind it and hear what they actually said. It works as a communal thing, but after the communal aspect, you need to go back and rewind and press pause and go to the kitchen and go to the toilet and come back and find a way to completely immerse yourself in this story. So maybe it's not really a theatrical release kind of film, and that kind of forced our hands into considering other options. Some of those options include an online platform carrying the film, but even that also was met with what I call, for want of a better diplomatic statement, what I call red tape. So the kind of red tape that I have experienced trying to bring this film out is nearly unprecedented. But I believe that the Igbos say that if an elder is holding up a child's toy away from the child's reach, that when the arm aches him, it will bring it down and the child will take his thing. I think every project would find its place in time. That time is the solver of all problems. And when there is nobody that can stop a project whose time has come. And I think right now, the time for BADAMASI, the Saturday, June 12, 2021, trying to tell the story of Saturday, June 12, 1993, the state of Nigeria at the moment, the place of IBB and his age and his significance and the myth and the stories, the Chinese whispers about all the things that happened, the state of the world and where we are as a humanity. We've been shaken by COVID-19. We want to start living again. We want to be optimistic. This film's timing couldn't have been better. And I am only just a small part in all of that. The rest of the glory goes to God.
Okay, so I'll take some messages here. So many of them. This one is from Bonga in South Africa. It says, Mirror Boy was a masterpiece full of suspense and all that. I can't wait for Badamasi to come out. Kudos to your guest. I'm watching him from South Africa. Thank you so much, Bonga. And then another one here is from Samuel Adibodu from Lagos. He says, good afternoon. Been following your show since 2 p.m. Tell your guests that we truly appreciate the good work he does. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
then so many of them, but we'll just be reading them. I know we still have a couple of minutes to go on the show, but yes, thank you, Bonga, for even reminding me about that. I was going to ask you of Mirror Boy, because we've talked about last flight to Abuja. What was that film was something else. Anyway, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. What brought about Mirror Boy?
I would say Mirror Boy was an idea that came to me at the lowest ebb of my life. At the time when you are at the very bottom, nowhere else to go. You've somebody with the inside got another fall again. You don't fall finish. And to see that film light my name in neon lights at Empire Cinema Leicester Square in February of 2011 was one of the most uplifting things that have happened to me as a human being. It was something else. So my wife told me a simple story about a young boy who's taken back to Africa and he goes missing. And then my imagination went wild. And at the time that I was thinking about this, the Nigerian film industry didn't really bother about stories from a child's perspective. It's usually adult stuff, comedy or chief or epic and all of those things. Nothing from the point of view of a child. So it was a rather unusual perspective for a story, and I was, experimenting with the UK Film Council, or the establishment of the UK film industry. I was experimenting with seeing if I could go through that route to find my bearing. And they kept passing me from pillar to post, from pillar to post, from one producer to the other, and so on. Some young boys who didn't know anything about anything, really. But just because of who they are and the color of their skin, they are making decisions on people that are smarter than them. At some point, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to choose a different route. I'm going to find little money to make this film and let it speak for itself. And I ran into a young man called Akin Salami, who was running a TV station called OHTV, Open Heavens Television, the Redeemed Church Television in London. And I told him the story. And technically, this story is technically a traditional story because there's nothing Christian about it, if you know what I mean. About a boy who goes into a forest and experiences some magical things and finds an imaginary friend that takes him on a journey back to where his father was born that he didn't know existed. But for a Christian channel to back this project that is pagan in quotes was the first miracle. And we wanted to shoot in Calabar, Obudu Ranch. But the Calabar Tourism Board, who promised me heaven and earth when the time came, disappointed. And one of the actresses in the film, bless her, she's now the wife of the president of Sierra Leone, Fatima Jabe, told me, why don't we go to Gambia? I said, Gambia, you are known for granite. What is in Gambia? And she said, I can talk to the president. A few days later, she put me on a call to Yaya Jame. And the guy said, please, we don't have money, but we'll roll out the welcome mat for you. We need the industry to boom in our country, and you can only be good for us. Cut a long story short, we moved to Gambia, shot the film, one of the most conducive production environments that I have experienced as a filmmaker. Made great progress, came back, and I, halfway through the edit of the film, I had to travel to India for a medical emergency for my brother. And by the time I came back, the trailer that we released had gone AWOL, and CNN had booked an interview with me, and from that point, I've not looked back. The filmmaker that went to Gambia is not the same one that you're talking to, because that film literally changed my life, and I am who I am today on the back of what I call my seminal film, The Mirror Boy. So when I buy my mansion in LA, call it.
So how was it like pulling Genevieve and the others on the film?
What I love about Genevieve is that she's strategic. And I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but Omotola was the first person I spoke to about The Mirror Boy. But I was this London-based, rather unknown filmmaker that didn't have a lot of money. So Omotola made a call, not based on the project, not based on my intelligence and on my outlook and my plan for the project, but simply on who I was and how much money I put on the table. But Genevieve saw something else. She said, I am not the central character in this film, but I see this film working and I want to be part of it. I owe her for that, because her presence in that film helped make it what it is. And that presence wasn't because I paid her too much money. It was because she was sold on the vision of the film, and she trusted my guts. She trusted my ability to deliver on those visions. And, and she was absolutely a simple human being to work with. In Gambia, we had a good time. In London, I consider her a very close friend from 2010 when we made that film, But then the very next project, I guess Omotola saw that I wasn't just an ordinary village boy trying to hustle, and she came on board. But in a way, for me, the first cut is the deepest, and Genevieve really cut deep into my heart with the way she accepted me and accepted my project without the money that most people would look for, and I think that's the difference between the two people.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this before I let you go. What's the power of storytelling in filmmaking? Because a lot of times people just feel that filmmakers, particularly from this clime, this continent, so to say, it's like the bandwagon. So there was a time in Nollywood or in filmmaking in Africa when it was about voodooism and everyone tilted towards that lane. There was a time when it was about heartbreak. Boy, train girl, go school. The girl come out from school, follow another man, say the boy no go school. And everyone followed that lane. So why are directors, producers, writers not exploring other ways and taking this risk, so to say, that you are also taking? Because a lot of times your work just comes boom, and it just speaks like, you know what, whether it becomes a commercial hit or not, I don't care. All I am about is to make an imprint, put my name on the Sound of Times and all that. So not everybody get this kind of liver where you get to, bro. So
plenty, big. You see, you have to understand where our industry is coming from. Our industry did not come from a technical, artistic background. It did not come from years and years of practice. It came from a hustle. Kenneth Nebwe, who was making, selling DVDs, VHS tapes with Chinese films and Indian films on it, decided to experiment with some of the people that NTA sacked in 1992 to tell a story in Igbo and put it on a VHS tape and sell. And that experiment, called Living in Bondage, gave birth to, essentially was hugely successful, so that the people that are selling, doing the same type of business in the same line of trade, replicated what he did. And everybody was making films. If you had a school leaver, a little girl that just left secondary school, and you know, Dumota, you call her, can you tell a story? And she said yes, and she will write something, and 2 days later you've shot it. 3 days later it's in the market. You're selling hundreds of thousands, millions of copies of it. So there was no background for artistic excellence or technical prowess. It was just a hustle, if you know what I mean. So the industry with that kind of background had problems already. You know, it took the emergence of a few technically trained, you know, well-traveled, more experienced people coming into the industry to bring it this far. But it's always been a hustle of an industry. So you don't expect it to all of a sudden change. And, you know, even with Hollywood, even with established film industries, when a trend works, just like superhero films are the main thing now in Hollywood. Everybody is telling a superhero story. What's it called? The superhero company. What's it called? The cartoon. There used to be a cartoon company, and then they're now Marvel. Marvel went from bankruptcy to becoming one of the biggest producers in Hollywood, and everybody thinks, okay, if I put a superhero story element in my film, it will be successful. And that's the same for Hollywood. That's the same for Nollywood. So if, for argument's sake, BADAMASI becomes successful and breaks viewing records on any platform that it goes, somebody will say, oh, there's Obasanjo, there's Gowon, there's Ojukwu, and they will start to tell stories like that. And that is why I tell people that what is happening now, whereby Nollywood has lost a little bit of its independence because we are no longer controlling the distribution of our films. We're not doing the DVDs anymore. The cinemas that were beginning to rise have been knocked for six by COVID. And right now, if your film is not on Netflix, you are not a filmmaker of quality. Do you understand? So it's become the gold standard, the stamp of authority, the authentication stamp for our industry. And while that is great because they put us in front of the world and give us access to places that we can only dream of, it also has its drawbacks because dependence on a film industry, dependence of a film industry on one source of revenue is risky. It's like taking us back to where African film industry was before Nollywood came up. So it's a great time to be a Nollywood filmmaker, but our stories need to evolve, and it shouldn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process. It's, you know, the more training, the more experience people have, and we've been doing this for only about 28 years, not very long, 29 years, not very long. By the time we get into our 40th year of practice and younger people have come on board, more adventurous, more creative, more fearless, the stories would also evolve. But we cannot evolve too quickly, because if we evolve too quickly, the audience that we've carried along all along would lose them. So we're trying to be very Hollywood, and then we lose our own Nollywood essence. So it's an imperfect film industry, but imperfect is good, because it's only God that is perfect, and he tries to perfect our imperfections. And that's what he's going to do with Nollywood.
Okay. I like to also ask that I know a lot of times majorly what is like a stumbling block for film production is sponsorship. Just when doors were beginning to open, where you found um, corporate bodies, corporate organizations looking the way of entertainment, music, and all that. The pandemic struck, and it's like a layer or several layers of setback. How do you begin to also win the trust of corporate organizations now, just to see that we are really in the new norm? I mean, we just have to put all the safety measures, but we have seen that we must go out, So how do people begin to, how would the industry begin to look at wooing back the corporate organization, knowing that that is where the strength of sponsorship is? And that's why foreigners praise African directors, writers, actors a lot, because some of the things we do here is like magic to them. They could take 3 years in shooting one film. So
So to answer your question directly, Nollywood does not need to do anything to woo back the corporate world. The corporate world was not part of Nollywood's start. They didn't come on board until maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Bank of Industry did not give a single penny to any filmmaker until 2015, 2014. Before then, Nollywood was nearly 20 years old, 20 something years old. So if Nollywood tries too quickly to pander to what the corporates want, the essence of this industry that we have, once again, will be lost. Nollywood needs to continue what it's doing, just like African music and Nigerian music did not change. They didn't try to sound like Michael Jackson. Burna Boy did not try to sound like R. Kelly. He sounded like Burna Boy. And gradually, they started to accept him on equal terms. That's what Nollywood is supposed to do, to continue to be Nollywood, to continue to be an imperfect film industry, to continue to tell those quirky stories. Because look at India. They've been making films for a very long time. The average Indian film that runs in the cinema makes more money than the average American film that runs in the cinema. But they didn't need to change. They haven't changed for, to be more Hollywood. They still tell I love you and your father won't let me marry you, or you kill my father, I kill your father. That's the premise, and they do a lot of dancing. That is it, because they are confident in their own identity. And Nollywood, in spite of its quirkiness, in spite of the problems that we have, should be confident in the style of storytelling that we do, the quick turnaround version of what we do. When we were shooting video, the world was saying that we were defiling the name film. But now everybody shoots on video, even Hollywood. They're shooting on Arri Alexa digital cameras. That was an abomination before. Do you understand? But Nollywood started that. And all of a sudden, the whole world is embracing it. So Nollywood is a pioneering industry in that regard. But if we try too quickly to impress a bank manager who wants to give us a loan, then we'll stop thinking like creative people. You need a certain mindset to invest in a film. If you want quick turnaround, quick money, please don't come near me, because you will put me under pressure. I won't take your money. If you believe in what we're doing, you believe in a longer term prospect, you believe in all the other non-financial benefits of filmmaking, which are important, you believe in starting a legacy, you believe in building a brand, then come, let's talk. But if you are simply a bank manager who wants to give a loan, collect interest, and get the loan paid back, there hasn't been a formula where bank loans have worked for a film industry. Not in Nigeria, not anywhere in the world. The investment formula is equity-based. It's different. It's more friendly. It's kinder, and it encourages creativity. And when you encourage creativity, you become successful commercially. But if you stifle creativity into balance, then it's a recipe for disaster. So Nollywood should continue to trying to the right people, the right entrepreneurs, and the right investors will come and invest in the industry, even with its imperfection. The ones who are looking for quick turnaround, let them go and buy Bitcoin, because we can't give them the money that they want from Bitcoin. The industry cannot. No film industry can. A film is essentially a risky business, and you have to take that risk willingly. You can't take it and say, I'm giving you this money, give it back to me a year from now with 100% with 100% interest. Sorry, I cannot guarantee that. I'll do my best to make the film work. And because you can see my track record that I've made films work in the past, if I put the same effort and by God's grace, this film will work. But I'm not going to sign with my blood to say, I must give you back this money at this time, because I can't guarantee that. Only God can.
As we wrap up now, I'll come back to you and let you say your final words to maybe upcoming arts and upcoming people, young people particularly, who want to go into film industry, whether as actors or behind the scene. Let me read some few more messages, and then I'll let you wrap up. Kevin Sunday is saying, though people say film being bad has bad influence, but I say no to that. In every film or story, you will agree with me that the end is always either good or bad. It all depends on what the writer wants to capture. I love films and I also love stories because it helps me build my lifestyle. Thank you very much. And this is to acknowledge Chief Ogbenyalu Udiala Okoye, all the way from Dublin. You're watching us. Thank you. Mrs. Adetoro Esther Amlambu, I hope I got that name right, all the way from Kaduna. She said she's also watching. And Nina Richie, thank you. We've already acknowledged you. There's Albani Ayub from Pakistan. Thank you. Edosanwa Rosemary from Abuja is also watching. Thank you so much. And so many messages that I can't read. We might need to bring you for a part two, maybe shortly to when you are premiering your film. So we still talk more about it, a whole lot of things before your premiere. So, so in your last word, what would you like to say to young people who look up to you, who look up to Genevieve? And yes, I forgot one message here. I said I was going to also read it before I leave, before I let you go. It's from Bradley 14 in Botswana. He says, I'm watching your guest. Please tell Mr. Obi, where is that boy that acted in Mirror Boy? Sorry, Bradley, I almost forgot. Over to you, sir.
Edward Kagutosi played the lead role in The Mirror Boy. We had about 10 auditions in London trying to find a black young boy that can carry a film. And eventually we found him. He's from Uganda. He lives in London. He's gone on to do great things. I'm hoping to work with him again, and so that I can bring him back to his audience and his fans. He's a great guy, Edward Kagutosi. So my final word, really, to anybody who wants to, toe this line of work, is to get an education. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's medicine or psychology or religion, doesn't matter. So that your basic foundation of intelligence and thinking is at a certain level. And then walk your way, walk your own path. Do not try to be like somebody else. You can emulate certain characteristics in people. You can emulate the kind of stories I tell, but tell it your way. Do not judge yourself using other people as standard. You are on a journey, and your journey is unique. Enjoy that journey, enjoy that ride. Start small where you are, build your way, broadcast yourself, shoot with your mobile phone, do monologues with your mobile phone, put it out there. You don't know who's watching. There are so many tools these days to be noticed. And if you use those tools well, somebody will notice, somebody will give you a chance. And when you get that chance, you can now begin to embark on the sweeter part of your journey. But every journey starts with the first step. And that first step is you believing in yourself. Do not, some young man was telling me the other day that I am at university and I'm trying to be a good actor. And I look around my class and I'm not even nowhere in the top 10 of my class. What is more, the school? What is more, the state? What is more, Nigeria? What is more, the world? So if you look at yourself like that, you will never be good enough. But if you look at yourself as the best version of you, then you give yourself confidence, and confidence breeds confidence, and you'll become successful eventually. Because no matter what you do, it's Ralph Waldo Emerson that my dad would quote all the time that say, whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically work upon must inevitably come to pass. God bless you all.
Wow. While I did for people who don't get papa who go school. Okay, that's been the size of our show. I wish I could just have him go on and on and on and on. Just enjoying every bit of what he's been saying. But that's what you get when you talk with a veteran. He's been there, he's seen it all, and I really must thank him for finding time to come. He's a really, really busy person. So on Shagalinku, we really appreciate our guest for finding time to come in spite of his very busy time, especially now that his premiere is just around the corner, and he's really putting a whole lot together to make sure that he gets everything right and successful. So, Mr. Obi, when the premiere comes, to let us know. We'll be here on Shagalinku TV to also show our support. We're always here for you. Now you can count on us. So for everyone who joined us, everyone who watched across the globe, the videos will still be here. We're streaming live on both YouTube and Facebook. The video is still here to watch after the show. For those of you who are 6 hours, 10 hours behind or after, just click and watch. And remember to also subscribe to our YouTube page, and even on all our social media handles, it's at Shagalinku TV. And just like our page, click on the notification button so that whenever we come live with our guests, you'll be notified, and then you can join us. Apologies to all that we couldn't read all their messages. Time really says we should go, but thank you all for finding time to join us. We thank everyone that watches, all across the globe. Like I always say, you have choices, you have other channels, but you make it a date every Tuesdays and Saturdays, 2 p.m. West African time, and we don't take it for granted. So thanks to everyone. Thanks to all my crew members here for making this one a success too. And once again, in case you missed out, we talked about the power of storytelling in movie making, and we had Mr. Obi. Let me call him Barrister and look for his trouble. Barrister Obi. He's a writer, a producer, and a director, and we'll be premiering his new film, BADAMASI, a portrait of a general, next month. We'll be bringing you more details as the time gets closer, and if possible, we'll bring in a few days to the premiering of the film. So we could also talk with him one more time before the premiere, and then after the premiering, we'll also bring him back to tell us the experience and how it went, and then know which other state we will move to premiere the film. But come Nigeria or Oga, we need to see that film here. Okay, people, this is the size. Enjoy the weekend, and please still stay safe. Wash your hands regularly. Always go about with your sanitizer. Yes, it's the new norm and all that, but then still take all the precautionary measures that NCDC has said. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. We'll see you again next week, Tuesday, with a fresh edition of the program. Till then, God bless you all, and thanks for joining us. Have a beautiful, beautiful Saturday. God bless you all. Bye-bye.